I'm going to take these trousers, see they're a nice linen, and I'm going to convert them into a nice skirt. To start with, you're going to need to open up the hem and disassemble the pants. So now that we've removed the hem, what you're going to do next is you're going to open up the crotch and open up the seam, the inseam of the pant. So now the crotch is open. Now we're going to open up the inseam. If you can snap it good without tearing it, you can just sit there and tear. So now we've got the pant leg open on the left side, and we got the pant leg open on the right side. You see, now you've got them all open. You're going to take the crotch and sew it all the way in on both sides. Make sure it's sewn all the way to the end, because you're going to end up cutting that crotch off. So now we've got the crotch sewn up in the front and the crotch sewn up in the back. Now we have to take that excess fabric out of the crotch, because what we want to do now is sew up the front seam and sew up the back seam. So what you want to do now, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to be sewing right sides together, right down the center. But what you're going to do is you got to get that crotch out of there. So you're going to start here under the crotch, and you're just going to stitch straight down. And you're going to do the same thing in the back. When it's time to stitch the back, so actually we're going to stitch our seam like this and stitch it straight down to take that crotch out. I've got the center front stitched all the way down the pants. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press that, and I'm going to press these front seams out. So now this is what the inside of the pants look like once we've sewn it. So what I'm going to do, since I want to press that, I'm just going to cut this excess crotch out, and I'm going to do the same thing in the front as well. I'm going to cut off the excess crotch. Okay, you see I've got the center seam pressed in the front, and I got it pressed in the back also. What I'm going to do, because I don't like this big thick waistband, so I'm going to rip off the waistband and the belt loop. I've removed the waistband all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this little flap, because you don't need that little flap. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take the zipper out, because if you notice, it zips up just opposite the way a woman's skirt zips up. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to flip the zipper around so that it fits. So now the zipper is out, but you know you got a lot of fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off right up under here. I'm going to cut all of that off. So I'm going to be cutting 3.5 inches off. So I'm going to start in the front, and I'm going to cut off 3.5 inches. So now I've removed the pockets. So now you see I've sewn up the pocket on both sides, and that's the opening where the zipper was. So I'm going to put the pleat back. So I'm going to measure down 26 inches, and there's my 26 inches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut across there. So now it really begins to look like a skirt. Isn't that cute? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run a stitch across here to hold my pleats in place. So I've stitched my pleats in place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my zipper in. I've inserted my zipper, and I've also pressed my pleats down. We're ready to put some darts in the back. So here's my skirt on the mannequin. Now to add my darts, I'm going to just simply pinch right pretty much in the center of the back, and I'm doing like a 1-inch dart, and I'm going to stop it just as it starts to come into the hips. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch my darts on the inside, and I'm doing a 1 inch, and I'm going to stitch it down about 4.5 to maybe 4 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to use the pieces here that are larger. I pressed my pieces, so I want to cut out a nice circle right in the middle. So I'm just going to fold these in half, and then I'm going to fold them again. And whatever that circumference is, I'm just going to cut out my circle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slit one side, just like that. So now, see what I got? That's what I want on the bottom of my skirt. Well, I've stitched all my circles together, my flounce together, and I've done a little simple serge and turn up the hem. So now I'm ready to attach it right sides together to the bottom of my hem. So I'm going to take the skirt, the bottom, and you're going to put the flounce on right sides together. I've got my flounce pinned all the way around. So as you see, I've taken my flounce and I've actually pressed it flat. I top stitched the bottom, which also helps allow this to lay flat. And I pressed the seam going up. That adds a little extra little pretty on the bottom of the hem. Isn't that cute? So now we're going to put the waistband on, because that's the final part of our skirt, is to finish up the waistband. To do the waistband, I'm going to actually take the waistband apart that came from the men's pants here. I'm going to take this portion of the waistband because it already has a facing on it, or interfacing. So it's perfect for our waistband. Besides, I want a small waistband. I don't want a thick one. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use half of that. Well, I took the waistband pieces apart. See? And I stitched the two together because you know with a men's waistband they have a center back seam. So I stitched them together. And then I serged the edges to finish it off. I'm going to pin our waistband in place, and I'm going to start in the back, and I'm going to put the seam where I joined it together. I'm going to put it together in the back. So my waistband is all pinned in place, right sides together. So now I'm going to do a small seam allowance. I've got the waistband attached, and like I said, I wanted a small waistband like that. I'm going to fold the waistband over in half. So I'm just going to fold this back like this. And I'm going to stitch that down. So I've stitched my waistband on the flap side, so I'm going to turn it now. And see, that's giving me that nice small skinny waistband that I want. And I'm going to take the seam allowance and push it up toward the waistband to make this lay flat. And then I'm going to top stitch this down. I've taken my waistband and the side with the flap, I've stitched it across, and now I'm going to flip it and turn it. And when I turn it, I'm going to push the waistband seam allowance up into the waistband. I've got my waistband done now, so what I'm going to do is push the seam allowance up into the waistband, and I'm going to top stitch this across, all the way across the waistband. Well, I've top stitched the waistband, so now I'm ready to add my skirt hook and my skirt eye. Our skirt is finished. I've pressed the seams. I've attached the hook and the eye. And there you have a skirt made totally from a men's pair of trousers. Hope you try this project. Happy sewing.